The Origins of the Sudanic Civilization by Eva L. Meyerowitz. The contents: 1. Fezzan. 2. Eastern Sahara. 3. Lake Chad region. 4. The Middle Niger. 5. The Niger Bend region. 6. Ancient Ghana. And 7. The summary. Thus, while no definite or precise account of origins of the Sudanic civilization can yet be given, there is nonetheless enough circumstantial evidence of various influences of the work of Murzuk in the immediate post-Murzuk Sudan to account for most of the elements in the strange iron of Egyptian and Southwest Asian ideas and the influence which to penetrate, which is obvious modifications and attentions through which so much of the heart of Africa. Essentially, the Sudanic state was a parasitic growth fastening itself upon an economic base of pre-existing agricultural societies. To these societies attributed certain new techniques, notably in the field of mining, metallurgy, and trade. This is an attempt to show how civilization gave birth to the Sudanic, which is differently fused from the upper, which is diffused from the Upper Nile Valley Monroe, during the 1st and 2nd century AD to the Eastern Sahara, the Fezzan, Mauritania, and the later half of the 7th century of the Fezzan and the Eastern Lake Sahara, and to Lake Chad Basin. That's the key. The Lake Chad Basin is the key. The Middle Niger and the Niger Bend. You know what I'm saying? So all this stuff combined together. You know what I'm saying? She started at, the Eastern Sahara, right? I'll be in the Upper Kemet. You know what I'm saying? The Lake Chad, to the Niger Middle, the Middle Niger to the Niger Bend. And shortly after AD 1000 from the Niger Bend to the region south of it in the Upper Niger country. The people responsible for this diffusion was the Zaga, or the Zagara, who established themselves as a ruling aristocracy, either early already existing kingdoms or pre-existing agricultural societies which lacked central government. They were matrilineal like the ancient Egyptians and the Eastern Liberians, which means they had an exonomy. That is, intermarriage with the subject of people to carry a nation. That was always our thought pattern. The intermarriage with the subject of people to create a nation. Owing this to custom of racial composition and the language of the Zaga different finally in the various kingdoms. Medieval Arab writers like Murzuk of the 10th century regarded Zaga as descendants of Cush, son of Canaan, and the prosperity of Noah. Al-Mahdi includes them among the descendants of Cush, sons of Canaan, sons of Ham, sons of Noah. Cush, founded by the Ethiopian dynasty of c. 75 BC, was highly Egyptianized kingdom which bordered ancient Egypt in the south. The Greeks called it Ethiopia. In the 5th and 6th century of our era, the name was changed to Nubia. The early capital was Napta from 590 BC and onwards it was Monroe. Cush from the earliest times had a mixed population of Caucasian and Negroes. Now we know this is very old. From the former, presently the Ethiopians, the son of Canaan, sons of Ham, son of Noah, was the Arab description for the Hurri, who in the 3rd century millennium BC were the rulers of the kingdoms of Mesopotamia, Syria, and Palestine. All right, so right there we're running that. At an unknown date, possibly at the time, from the Roman army following the frontier troubles, marched into Kush, right? The Roman army is coming down into Kush and ravaged the country in 23 BC. Thousands of Ethiopians left in search of new homes in Sahara and the Sudan. The date for the destruction of modern innovation, civilization by the Blimzines, 8350, would be too late to assume there was any circumstantial evidence by that time the Ethiopians were already well established in East Sahara and the Fezzan. Number 1, the Fezzan. In the Fezzan, the Ethiopian Zaga took the Garmite kingdom, which is founded about the same time as Kush, 750 BC, and since 19 BC, it was under the scrutiny above the Romans. The people were largely Gaza and Eastern Libyans exclusively related to the Tartars, such as the Nanytone of the Antiquity. We know from a large-scale invasion of thousands of graves that the early physical type of the Garmite group, Group 1 and Group 2, was similar to that of the ancient Liberians in the modern texts. From Roman times, the physical type of graves Ethiopians was commonly Group 2, that is a trag. Abedin, an Arab writer who died in 1406 in Cairo, wrote that the Zara was a branch of the trag. The civilization of the Germani from the beginning was strongly influenced by Mediterranean culture. Rome rule finally came to an end following the Vandal invasions of North Africa in AD 428. In AD 533, the Byzantines drove them out and established themselves in eastern France, where they turned the Roman town Sabala into a fortress known as Zula, Zela, or Zuila to the Arabs in later centuries. The inhabitants was largely Bulan, or Bur, or Barber race, or branch of the Bang, son of Bar. They, like Zara, had a hairy ancestry. According to Yacubi, AD 891, they were descendants of France, the Himrites, son of Phoenicians from the Persians, Gulf Arment, son of Canaan, son of Ham. The Byzantine Emperor Justinian forced them to adopt Christianity. The Arab conquest of North Africa ended the Byzantine rule, which followed in AD 666. By the request of the Fezzan, General Uba ibn Nafi marched into Durham, the Zagra capital, and the Zagra, the divine king, and thrown out of the Paquin and had him walk to surrender him. He utterly exhausted and spitting up blood. The treatment of the conqueror must have been terrible, and thousands of people fled along the Murzuk Lake Chad Caravan route. The Murzuk Lake Chad Caravan route is the southern route. You know what I'm saying? This is very important. It's the southern route that connects the Egyptians to the West Africans. It was going on since for a long, long time. You know what I'm saying? But it's not talked about recently now in most history books. You know, Lake Chad is shrinking. You know what I'm saying? It's like Lake Chad is like 90% of what it used to be. It shrunk that much. Among the Ubar Arab warriors were the brothers of Boan, or Bur, or Berberry, whose chief married the princes under the dynasty, which continued to power under the Arab scrutiny until 918 AD. Zagra from Kush did not go far as Fezzan, made themselves the rulers of the part of East Sahara, which included the Bessie Mountains and part of Lake Chad Caravan route, probably from the Tomo Mountains to the Khazar Oasis. They dominated confederations of Libyans who were called Lua in North Africa, or Goa in the Sahara, a name which adds to another different prefixes and suffixes. In Garar and Teddy, in the Negro Daza, the 50-mile-long Karwa Oasis was largely inhabited by So, who were kin to the Zagra. After the surrender of the Zagra king of Fezzan, Ubar invaded the Zagra king on the eastern Sierra in Khazar, was able to take the Dazan. The fortress which protected the entrance of the oasis. He then took many other towns. El-Bar does not state where. And finally, the king in a remote spot, the Zagra king, had not been sold to King of Zara, and had dragged him before him. Ubar cut up a finger, and the divine king who loses blood is no longer the king in the eyes of his people. He then returned to Zawa, and through a ruse was able to take the town. The whole male population was massacred, and the Arab soldiers can do with the women and the children as they like. Thousands of more refugees fled south and settled in other regions. Number 3, the Lake Chad region. It's the linchpin. The Lake Chad region is the linchpin. Many nomadic cattle-owning Zara, Libyans, and Gar moved in the eastern Sahara into the kingdoms of Zofan, Darfur, and Wadi, where their Negroid descendants are known today as Zagra, or Konon, or Zagrani, or Libyan Zagra. The soul of the Zagra built towns, city-states around Lake Fidi, Lake Fertine, and Lake Chad, where the Zagra was found at Mo, the Korean kingdom, which soon became powerful. About AD 800, Adris, a Muslim, Beriberi from the Zulu, established himself as king. The Egyptian Meyerowitz civilization only came to an end in Kareem when King Beni-Hun soon introduced Islam as a state religion in AD 1086, which meant a patrilineal succession and the ritual murder of the state god. So once we accepted Islam, it became a patrilineal succession, patrilineal changed from the matrilineal, and they did a ritual murder of the state god. Refugees from the Lake Chad region largely settled in northern Nigeria. Number 4, Middle Nigeria. The Zag refugees from the Fezzan and the eastern states founded in AD 670 and 680 Ganwanhia, Leakia, or Kakua, an Arabic manuscript as the capital of Shanghai, Songhai, and Zari, a kingdom which is known today as Songhai or Sangari. The kings preceded their personal names to that their dynasty. The history of Songhai starts with A. L. Sadi account in the Tasman of the Tariq el Sudan. How the first Zah or Zaya king came to rule the country. The gist of the following: Zah al-Alaman, Zah al-Yaman, who was said to come from Yemen to Arabia, and his brother arrived at Kalua in an exhausted and pitiful state, and was made king after he had rid the country of a big fish with a ring in his nose, which had kept the people in bondage. This is a garbage account of events which can be put in proper context by the information from another source. To quote a Timbuktu manuscript from AD 657 to 669, the learners say that 4 men of the army of the Caliph Omar ibn Abdul Aziz set off from Yemen and stopped at Borneo. They slew the ruler of Borneo, and one of them, Iris, installed himself as king. The other went to Kalua, where Yabar Aman Yama installed himself and married Wiza Khalizum. From him descended Yabar Bandai. The 2 others pushed on a Buru, and one of them, Suleiman Faraz, married the daughter of the Kalamaya, king of ancient Ghana. This tradition refers to the conquest of Kahim Boam as an acronym by Muslim warriors, the Beriberi. The Caliph Omar ibn Abdul Aziz was the brother-in-law of Muhammad and the second Caliph whose Arab army wrested Egypt away from the Persians in AD 642. He was assassinated in Medina in 644. However, the ancestor of the Arabs who sued the Zara king of Kahim must have been Sefi ibn Dana Yazan, if he indeed was the founder of the Safwan dynasty of Karim, which there can be little doubt. Sefi ibn Dadi Yazan is a known member of the Yemen lineage, which was ousted by Akshumites for 72 years and oppressed the Yemenis cruelly. He secretly went to the Persian king, Chovez Perez, to enlist his help, which he did not. He died, but his son received him. In AD 570, the Yemen came under Persian rule. Yabar Aman Yaman, who became king of Songhai, was probably a Yemen prince, but not of the Yemen royal house because he would have been mentioned, whereas Suleiman al-Faraz Perez, the Persian, was according to Wandu tradition of ancient Ghana, descendant of the Salaman, or the Al-Faraz of Algiers, which means Fezzan. This is also confusing for Salman who lived in Medina in Iraq at the time of Caliph Omar and was used the latter as an agent. He may have been identical with the last Persian viceroy of Yemen who converted to Islam in AD 628. These 4 men then, the fourth of Sayyid al-Sadr, became the ancestors of the Fulani kings of the Massina and leaders of the Beriberi army were. There can be little doubt that descendants of these men taking part in Caliph Omar's conquest of Egypt in AD 642 and the conquest of the Fezzan in AD 666 were they or the sons of the settled intermarried with the Boa and Azula. The attack on Karim about 800 AD brought in turn the descendants of the South who were called the Beriberi in the Sudan. Yamar Amar did not come to Kalia alone with his brothers Suleiman al-Faraz, but were part of the Beriberi army bent on conquest. They formed a long road from Karim to the Middle Niger and partly uninhabited desert-like regions. They must have lacked for food and water, which explained the pitiful and exhausted state when they arrived. He made himself king by marriage to Weza Zah, or Zari, or prince eligible for queen or queen mothership, as implied by the Kalua added to her personal name. Yabar or Dabarbar in the Tariq el-Fadish was not his personal name, but the name of the dynasty he founded in Songhai and composed of Dar and Bar or Barbarian. The Ankhan called Saberi Zarberi Ma, which made it very clear that these berries or berry were berry. They came from Zulu and Zulina in the Fezzan, which is evident from the following. Ibn Happel in the 10th century reported that trumpeters of the kings of Kalua played a tune which represented the word Zua. Among the Ankhan of Ghana, the king hornblowers played tunes which commemorate the importance and events of the world functions of this day. Al Muhammad al-Bari, who visited Kahlua, wrote that the kingdom of Kahlua has developed from that of Sanghay, which extended its increase in the wealth of the people, and the Kahlua in goods and flocks and large public treasuries. The chief wealth was salt. Salt played an important role in the Tasbih region in the Kazan. The salt pits at Belima were known in medieval ages as the finest salt deposits in the whole of Africa. Irizini remarked on the close contact between Belima and Kahlua. The country contagious to this country, Kahlua, in the east was chiefly Karswar, which is well known and frequent. At an unknown date, possibly in the 9th century, Soko immigrated from the eastern Lake Chad region and settled in Songhay. Their great ancestor was Olodine from East Mecca. But the names of the song indicate they were half caste or the servile, a term used in Korean for the indigenous Negroes and married with designer Berry or the Turner. It seems to have been an annoyance that Songhay, as they developed a habit of raiding villages on the Gavi, Negro presence who lived among the banks of the Niger. Whatever the case, they immigrated and led by Ram Mukvoti, born in Songhay, and wandered upstream and found the town of Goa. They also settled there for quite a time later on the buck of the Niger, on the north of Goa, in a region called Burn. Both names, Goa and Burnham, had a Lake Chad origin. Goa, or Goa with a suffix, was once an important town situated between Lake Chad and Lake Fury. And Burn was an old name of the Bur El Gazelle, which leaves Lake Chad and traverses between Kareem and Nubia. These river regions close to Lake Chad may have been an ancestral home of these Soko. The foundation of Goa was much resisted by Dali and Alamion, according to another tradition, by the Shi. Both acronyms what mean by the Danian kingdom of Sanghay. Long drawn out wars followed. Kobe, Afar, and Faram Makasessor was killed in a battle, and his successor, Faran Nobo, suffered such a defeat that he and his people had to leave Goa. Wandering further up the river of the Niger, they buried their last king, Bama Ba Soka, beyond Mahrain. There, the group split off and settled in various parts of the Niger as far as Lake Debo, where at Gurnafona, a subject of the Sahara came into, and presumably through intermarriage of the local people, Songhay must have been in great numbers of prisoners in Gao, where in the Tari El Fahaz, Fezzan Togo Soko was regarded as Zindi, which means slaves of the crown. By AD 1000, Agrazar Islamicized Siberian barbers, among them Zaharan, invaded the Niger and totally destroyed the Zahan kingdom. It seems that they had been halted in advance down the Niger into the Songhay, which had been known an important event which is recorded may have been connected. The king of Dasi, Kosi, moved his capital from Kulo to Goa, in AD 1009, and founded Muslim Dam, which literally translated means Muslim Confederation. This gives an impression that saved the country from invasion by making Islam the state religion. He moved closer to God to be close with him was Azal, whom he now voluntarily, as he said, by Ezra's in the confederation with the Muslims. The story of the fish with the ring in his nose, which was slain by Zahar Alaman, will fit here. He is certainly represented as a bisexual deity of the Niger River. Bisexual deity means male, female, not gay sex or nothing like that. You know what I'm saying? Got to make that clear. It just means male, female. Of the Niger River, the state god of Songhay, who had kept his people in bondage, and was slain ritually by Kosi, who then introduced Islam. With this act, the old Egyptian Sumerian civilization came to an end in Songhay and made way for Islam. Now, this ritual they're talking about, if you really look deep into the history books, this ritual comes out a lot. They also did it in England too. You know what I'm saying? Where they had some type of ritual type battle and some shit like that. You know, it's all ritual. It's like a changeover type thing. In the middle of the 12th century, Mandi Marara conquered Songhay and Boku. And further down the road, they founded the Wakun kingdom of Hassa. In about 1200, a Mandi prince married a Dala princess and founded the Songhay third dynasty called Yababa in the Timbuktu manuscript. In the Tagar Asaraj, banana said to mean prosperity, but more likely the banana derived from the Gaba and the Dala. The Gamer and the Dala were in the Dire and the Dire Kanti, founders and rulers of the Mangi Raga kingdom. Also, these kings in the third Sin dynasty of Sankey will continue to precede their name with Dya, Daya, until AD 1335. Ali Conan, who freed Sankey from Mali Mandi, the confederation grew out of Mandi warriors and replaced it with Dala in their religious title, Chi, or Sunny. In AD 1493, Muhammad Ture Kagaski ousted the dynasty of Sanghe and made himself king. According to the Timbuktu manuscript, he was a descendant of Solomon al-Faris, who married the daughter of ancient Ghana. However, he did not marry the royal daughter. It was his son, Dani, whose grandson, Malan P. True, became the last Camille of Sangre Faris, of Suleiman al-Faris of the Dingy line. He must have married the Zange prince of Tura, as the kings used the title of Akoski. The Sanghain language is classified by Greenberg as a Neolithic Saharan, which confirmed the origin of the Zahi from the Upper Nile Valley, Monroe, and the Sahara. We'll read that again. The Sanghain language, which is classified by Greenberg as Neolithic Saharan, which confirms the origin of the Zagra from the Upper Nile Valley, Monroe, and the Sahara. Other groups of the Neolithic Saharan are the Kemetu, in the language of Islam, Kareem Tada Daza of Tibeti region, and the Zara and the Bering. Number 5, the Niger Bend region. Dala and Zara were kingdoms founded in the Zara, largely from the Eastern Sahara, according to the tradition of Bono, Este, and Karmati, subdivisions of the Akan. The Kamati right here is a well-known, very, very, very well-known in the New World, or over here in the United States of America. It's very rare. They kicked off a lot of revolts over here. Subdivisions of the Khan, and about the same time as Sanghe, the people whom the Dala fused with were the greater part Negroid, Wanzanin, whereas the Dala was largely intermixed with Negroid Wakahor. The Wargana and the Wakahor were brothers according to the Tyrese fetish. Also, Wargana and the Wakahor is the same name of a dialect version. Both say their name or origin of Liberians, Ganawan or Ganawan or Gaara, as the majority of Zagra. The two kingdoms were conquered by the Islamic Arazan, who mentioned already, around 8100. No Arab writer mentions them. The Dalan founded members of new states in the region south of the Niger Bend in the upper Niger country. The Dalan largely settled in ancient Ghana. Dalan at this time belonged to ancient Ghana, where the Danghe dynasty was still in power. Number 6, ancient Ghana. The following information is preserved in the legend of Wandu. According to the ancient tradition of Dane, the offspring of Solomon, the Persian, was born in Lunama and Dindi, and after his mother's death founded a village meaning somewhere in Sanghe. He left it after a while and left while it was a study in Dinje, where he married and stayed for 20 years. He moved to the Dara in Massina, where he later married for a second time a woman from Toronto. At the unknown date, an event took place which nothing is known, but a man Dingy, the ruler of thousands of refugees. The name of their clans are recorded in verse 147 in the legend. The legend of Winderdoo. In the legend, he took them north to Bern, into modern-day Nicorotum, the capital of Dongan, in one of the states of ancient Ghana. Sometime later, a quarrel arose about a well in Dinghe, and after he had conquered the devils, made himself the king of Dongan and founded a new capital called Toyoto. Dingina, now powerful, married 3 young women. Yangabola, who must have been a prince of the former Yangi royal line, so he could be acknowledged as the people as a legitimate ruler. Katebola, the daughter of Karim, whose 6 sons became one of the other ancient kings of Ghana. And the third was Slimme Bono Buso, whose son, Manon and True, became the father of the last king of the Nazi dynasty. Dinga died an old man at Dioto and Kine. The son of his first wife, as such a large Dinga prince succeeded him. Gabi Sissi of the royal bloodline. The second of his son of his second wife resented this and intrigued to oust him, but failed, and had to flee and collected many number of merchants around him, and finally, as the head of the warriors embittered the neighboring Wangdunu, found himself king there and resided in the country. He later made war on the Kazazan, whose capital was named unknown, was situated on the Accra north of the Wangdu. The victorious established himself as the ruler of ancient Ghana roughly to about 8900. The defeat of the Kamen was the last king of the White Dynasty, probably of Zaire Ornerson, because Abu al-Amari, AD 637, spoke of Zaire country situated in the Arab north of Africa, south of Africa, north of Africa. New speakers again spoke of Zaire country situated in the Maghreb south of Africa. They spell Africa Ifriqiyah, excuse me. And the Sudanese people with the same name who live south of the Maghreb Colon. These references in the first case can only be to the white Zaire and Maghreb, and the second to the Sudanese dynasty people of the Wangadu, who were at the same time in which the Arab writer lived in the early 10th century. And the passage gives the impression that he wrote there was still a clear vision between the two Zaire people. The Zaire kings of the White Dynasty was almost certainly ancestors of the Sakharol, a name obviously composed of Sahara and Khazara and the Korol, the variant of Garin. They possibly Germain or Karazan, who left about Fezzan about 200. The Yabasis was succeeded by Kulansis and Kiante Korosis, Tanasis, and Tenafanansis, and Muhammad Sokari Marisis. The following king was the Turi Khan, Dawa, the grandson of the Dynasty, and his third wife. And with him, the Canadian dynasty came to an end. The Sassanian dynasty seemed to have a Turkic origin, which is suggested by the name of the last Timran, Tunka Minin. The Tunka Ra were among the companions of the Dingjin who migrated with him from Dagram. In 1076, ancient Ghana was conquered by the Almoravids who introduced Islam. The refugees mainly fled south. Many descendants of the Dingis, the Dagara people, returned to Dagara, and also left the new disasters of 1203 and 1240. They called themselves the Sanghe and spoke Sanghe, the national language of ancient Ghana. The etymology of the name Sagani is unknown, but it ought to have a connection with Sonora, the ingredient response, which is among the Akan. It always refers to ancestry. His mother was seen by a soul, by the sin or a ro or a ra, or in the natives using the Dungalam. In the Niger Bend, where the Dungalam was first greeted thus as his Umar, all the descendants of the Ding was honored from this address. One can deduce that the designer was the original Sun King, that is, soul people. The NKE of the Sun King, a plural suffix. There was also the so or so, a duplication of the name expressed in great numbers among the Khan. The Kumri referees who escaped the massacre of 1076 made themselves rulers of a small state south of Wagadu. They reconquered Kumbi in 1203, but their power was short-lived. Ancient Ghana ceased to exist in 1240 after the Mandate King Saditum incorporated the rest of the states in his newly found Confederation of Mali. Islam became the state religion, which at the time affected those states in Western Sudan, which came under the lordship of Mali. The ancient civilization continued to exist a few centuries longer in the kingdoms of Dala and the people of the Baltic regions, until 1470s, into the 1470s, and was destroyed by Songhay. And Bonafide founded a Dara dynasty until about 1600. A Corona Dala king introduced Islam in Ghana, Gonja, until the Mali conqueror of Dabapek introduced Islam shortly after 1600. The only great kingdom left a while longer was that of Bono, which the Ashanti made the same stock, destroyed in 722, 723. There, the Egyptian Meric civilization had been in full flower since the end of the 14th century. The Ashanti kings of direct origin never fully adopted the code of the king as the son of the sun god, as much modified course over the century. All that is practically left today is a ceremonial and matrilineal succession and inheritance. And also, this is corrupted owing to European influences, which stresses patrilineality. Thus, the civilization for the Nile, which gave birth to pre-Islamic Sudanese civilization, is practically now extinct. Number 7, the summary. There can hardly be any doubt that the early Sudanic civilization and its origin in Kush, the late capital Meroe, a highly Egyptianized kingdom which was founded by the peoples of the Southwest Asia, whom the Greeks called Ethiopians. For some time in the 1st century AD, an event took place where nothing was known about thousands of people who left and finally established themselves in the ruling aristocracy of the Fezzan in eastern Sahara and Mauritania. In the Fezzan, the Ethiopians called themselves the Zagara, or the Zagara, and are married with the Garmites, who, like the Zagara, were matrilineal. About AD 670, from the Zagara kingdom was totally destroyed by the Arabs, and with it, the civilization of Ethiopia Germanica. The refugees streamed south into the Zagara kingdom in the eastern Sahara, but the Arabs conquered this too. Once more, large numbers of refugees were on the road. They finally regrouped themselves in the eastern Sudan and the Lake Chad region, where they founded the Korean kingdom along the Middle Niger, and where they founded Songhai. In the Niger Bend, they founded the Zaga or the Zaga or the Diagaga and the Delilah kingdoms. In the Sudan, the indigenous people were Negroes, who at the time of Zord, the light-skinned Zaga. The Negro the Egyptian Marathi civilization came to end in Kareem in 1086 and in Songhai in 1009 to make way for Islam. Sahara and Delilah was destroyed by Islam Saharian Berbers about 1000 AD. Refugees founded largely new states and regions south of the Niger Bend and the upper Niger country. Ancient Ghana, there is reason to believe, was founded by the Zagaramites in Mauritania. Ancient Ghana, there was reason to believe, was founded by the Zagaramites in Mauritania about 200 AD. There too, the ancient civilization came to a final end in the conquest of Alvarez, who introduced Islam in 1076. The kings of the Mali father further diffused the Muslim creed in the Western Sudan. Only some states founded by the Dalit south of the Niger Bend withstood Islam. All the above are Khan states in Ghana, but the civilization which had its origin in the Nile Valley, now in the process of being destroyed by their European influences. So that's a story by, the origins of Sudanic civilization by Eva L. Meyerowitz. It's pretty old, 1972. Some stuff said, some stuff stay, some stuff go, but like the white shit and all that stuff like that. But about how the matrilineal society, she did pretty good in the summary, breaking it down. How Islam came through and destroyed all these kingdoms, you know what I'm saying? In West Africa, by following the trail. You know what I'm saying? You really don't hear much about these kingdoms that they talked about, like, you hear about Songhai somewhat, but the Zaga, Zagha, and the Dalaya kingdom, Dyala. You know what I'm saying? You don't hear about that kingdom. You barely hear about Kareem, Kanem.